أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. ثانية على حب الزهراء. اللهم صل على. ثالثة على حب أمير المؤمنين بأعلى الأصوات. اللهم صل. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا ابن رسول الله وابن أمير المؤمنين غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. And also in this night, as you know, we commemorate Imam Sajjad, salamullahi alayhi, the 25th night of Muharram. So before we go deep into what has happened at that time, we need to recognize that Imam Zain al-Abidin has spent a great deal of time living after Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So if you look at the difference between the time in which Karbala has happened and the time in which Imam Zain al-Abidin was taken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he spent almost 40 years. So from the 61st Hijri year until the 95th, almost 40. So all of this time, this was one of the lengthiest time that any Imam has lived, which was very difficult, especially for Imam Zain al-Abidin. Reason being that when Imam Zain al-Abidin lived this life, the very eventful life, he saw many occurrences that are very disturbing, marked by Karbala, for instance, which is the most disturbing he's ever lived through. But what is more disturbing than seeing that is living more years to come. So Zainab alayhi salam did not live for such a long time. She's just 1 year younger than Imam Hussein. She was born in the 4th Hijri year. He was born in the 3rd Hijri year. Imam Hassan on the 2nd Hijri year. So they are very close. And in the time of Karbala, they were 50 something between Imam Hussein and also between Sayyidah Zainab. So Zainab alayhi salam, although she suffered a lot, but she went to her Lord sooner than Imam Zain al-Abidin. He had to actually withstand it all. So the question that poses itself is that one of the most important places at the time of Imam Hussein salamullahi alayhi, and also then at the time of Zain al-Abidin, because he is his successor, is Basra. Basra in Iraq. That was a place in which many of the occurrences of Karbala were formulated. For instance, Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, he was the leader of the army. And although he did not go to Karbala, he stayed in Kufa. He held governorship at Basra at time of Muawiyah. So when Muawiyah died in the 61st Hijri year, Yazid came and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad held office not only in Basra. Then Yazid gave him governorship from Basra to Kufa, and that was on behalf of Sir John or Sarjun as we call it in Arabic, which was a Christian minister that was close to Muawiyah, and he used to actually help him in formulate all of his foreign policy. So after Yazid came, he told Yazid, I have some bad news to deliver to you, but it is also good news. So he said, what was it? So he asked him, if your father were to order you something, would you accept? Then he said, of course, my father has just passed away. So then he said, give Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad governorship from Basra to Kufa. And Yazid used to hate Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, but he agreed reluctantly. And so what happened right then is that the influence of Basra carried on to Kufa. So why are we talking about Basra? Basra is a place in which two things happened. The leadership and command of the army that went against Imam Hussein started from Basra, from the leader Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, because he was the one to initiate the army in Basra and also hold checkpoints so that no one is able to actually leave Basra and go to aid Hussein. And when he went to Kufa, he destroyed anything that Muslim ibn Aqil has done, and he removed the people from around him, and also he held a stronghold over there. And over that also, he sent the army of Kufans to go and fight Imam Hussein. So the leadership of the army against Hussein started from Basra, and also the army that wanted to aid Imam Hussein started from Basra. There were 10,000 men under the leadership of the Basrans that left Basra long before Imam Hussein came to Basra, and they were steadfast waiting in the northwest of Basra, away from any army of Ibn Ziyad, so that no one could stop them, and indeed no one could stop an army of 10,000 people. They were waiting for Hussein to come, but unfortunately when Hussein came close to Basra, they had to revolve around it, because Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad already took his measures and already posed checkpoints so that nobody is able to actually go inside or go outside for the fact. So they stayed there until Karbala has finished unbeknownst to them. Anyhow, so we're talking about Basra because at the time of Hussein and after Hussein, it is the place from which all war has started. And it is the place from which the enemies of Hussein and also the aiders of Hussein started to come out, so that they would be able to help, not even in the time of Hussein, but also after him. Many of the unrests against the Umayyads started from Basra. So anyways, what was the relationship of Imam Ali Zain al-Abidin and the Basrans? Because when we talk about Zain al-Abidin, usually we talk about him regarding the way that he mourned Imam Hussein, the way that he was in Karbala, the things that he has done. But we rarely do speak about his politics. So this is why we're speaking about his politics for this night. Anyhow, so Imam Zain al-Abidin salamullahi alayh, he did not return back from Karbala through Basra. So he did not pass by this gateway, by this bottleneck of politics. Why was that? When he was going to Karbala with Imam Hussein, obviously they had to turn from east of Basra all around it. So all into Iran, almost inside Iran, to go inside to towards Kufa, which of course they did not go to, they went to Karbala. So he did not pass then. And when they were returning to Medina, what happened is that they were taken from Karbala to Kufa, to Sham, the Levant, and then they went back to Karbala, and from Karbala to Medina they did not go southward, but they went southwest, which is the easiest way for them and closer way. So he did not even pass by there, and that was also intentional, because Imam Zain al-Abidin knew it was a very dangerous time. He has taken many measures. First measure, when he returned to Medina, he did not actually live in Medina for 5 years, until Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi went out into war with the enemies of Hussein and slaughtered them all. Imam Zain al-Abidin stayed in a tent within the desert far away from Medina, which is also, by the way, a reason why he wasn't killed. Because you know, Yazid done 3 great things in his life. Firstly, he has killed Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi in the 61st year. And then in the 62nd year, he attacked Medina, the Medina of the Prophet. And the Prophet has several times said, may Allah damn those that will attack my city. And the companions of the Prophet will always say, who is that? Because there wasn't any attack on Medina. But then there was one of them that actually outlived the Prophet, outlived Ali ibn Abi Talib, outlived Imam Hassan, and lived through the time of Imam Hussein. And then after it, in the 62nd year, when he saw that they were taking their cavalry and on all of their equipment and all of their military men and raping and pillaging until 1,000 women gave birth to illegitimate children for that year because of the army men of Yazid. So that happened the 62nd year. 63rd year, he attacked the Kaaba to get out and extradite Abdullah ibn Zubayr, and he burnt the Kaaba down. And then he died at that year, the same year, at the end of it. So these 3 things he has done. In the 62nd year, as I said, he attacked Medina, and if Imam Zain al-Abidin was in Medina, he would have been killed also. So within that time, he was actually living far away. He wasn't living close. So anyways, Imam Zain al-Abidin, within that, he tried to firstly, as I said, stay away from Medina. Secondly, he kept the politics not for himself to overtake, but for Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah is the uncle of Imam Ali Zain al-Abidin and the brother, the half-brother, half-sibling of Imam Hussein. Let's go 10 steps back. When Imam Hussein was leaving Medina to go to Mecca, and that was the last time he saw Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, because when Imam Hussein exited Mecca, he went directly to Karbala. Even though that most of the ways take you northward towards Medina, he didn't go. He tried not to go there to be safe. He went around it. Anyways, he met Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, and Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah was telling him, oh brother, if you would go to Yemen, you would have people to protect you. Don't go to Karbala, etc. But then Imam Hussein said, no, it is solid in stone that Allah has decreed that I will be martyred. So I will have to go. So he said to Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, stay in Medina and be my eye. ابقى في المدينة وكن لي عينا. That is what he said to Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, his uncle. Sorry, his brother. So Ali Zain al-Abidin had a very strong relationship with his uncle. Not only that, there was actually some people that were coming to Imam Zain al-Abidin salamullahi alayh with Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, and Muhammad al-Hanafiyyah told him that they are saying that, you know, we want to take orders, etc. So Imam Zain al-Abidin would say that the orders I want to give, I have given to you, to Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. So the political power of Ahl al-Bayt was all given to Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah by Imam Hussein and by Imam Zain al-Abidin. Both of them were given that. And there is another narration to show this. When al-Thaqafi was going to take revenge from those that killed Imam Hussein and martyred him, he actually went to Imam Zain al-Abidin in his hideout. And he took a couple of people to testify. And then he said, O Zain al-Abidin, they are saying that I am going into war on my own discretion, not yours. Not by your orders, but I am by your orders. So what do you say to them? So he said that I have given Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah all of my affairs, in the sense that if Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah gave the okay to al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, this means that I, Zain al-Abidin, has given the okay to him. Just as Imam Hussein has given him the okay also. So some people say, no, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah went against the will of Imam Hussein. He didn't. He actually was exactly in line and up to par with it. And this is why the last message that Imam Hussein ever sent from Karbala was towards Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. And he said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, كأن الدنيا لم تكن وكأن الآخرة لم تزل. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, as if this world has never been and as if thereafter was forever there. So now Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, not only is he sentimentally attached to Ahl al-Bayt and he is part of Ahl al-Bayt indeed, he was the political power. And there was a reason why he wasn't killed even though the army of Yazid entered to Medina. The reason for this is that they actually had in their mind, they had the will to communicate with him so that they will pull the rest of Ahl al-Bayt to him, to Yazid. So I'll give you an example. Now, let's say that you are a king and you actually kill another king, and that king has a lot of subordinates that love him. The best chance that you will ever have to hold a strong kingship over there in a land that you've killed their king already is to make sure that his close of kin are okay with you. Whoever is okay will stay with you and whoever is not will be killed. So they saw that the political power was all in the hand of Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, so he was spared. He was of old age also, but that wasn't the reason. The only way they could reach to the Hashemites is through Ali Zain al-Abidin. And Ali Zain al-Abidin was nowhere to be found, so through Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, his proxy. But Ali Zain al-Abidin did not make it a really big deal that he actually gave his power of attorney, let's call it that, to Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. He kept it a secret because that is also part of the plan, so that they will have doubts. is really Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah the proxy of Zayn al-Abidin or not? They would send spies to make sure and to check if that is the case or not. They do a lot of things, but they were also busy. So now, Ali Zayn al-Abidin had his connections through to Mukhtar by who? By Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, his uncle. And some people would say, but no, but Mukhtar is a bad guy, he's not a good guy. So when we refer to our scholars, let's say Sayyid Khou'i for example, Sayyid Khou'i has gone and looked into the narrations that speak against al-Mukhtar and the narrations that speak with Mukhtar. Those that speak with him are more highly regarded, are more respected, and the narrators are more, let's say, verified. And the narrations that speak against him, they seem to be forged by the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. So let's see what was the relationship between Ali Zayn al-Abidin and between Mukhtar. So first of all, Ali Zayn al-Abidin used to always accept the gifts of Mukhtar, to the extent that Zayd the martyr, the son of Zayn al-Abidin, was actually a son of a mother that was given by Mukhtar to Imam Zayn al-Abidin. As you know, that in Islam did not bring slavery, but it brought in regulations so that it will be eradicated. This is why the first place on earth that slavery was eradicated was actually in the Arabic Peninsula by Islam. And that was just 4 centuries after the Prophet. Slavery was abolished last in the West in the last century only. So anyways, in that time, if you would have a slave gifted to you and she was a woman, then she would automatically be a wife to you, so that you would rid her of her slavery, and then you would have children with her, and if you had children with her, the chances of her being freed are almost certain. So one of the slaves that were sent, the lady slaves that were sent from Mukhtar, was accepted by Zayn al-Abidin, and then she conceived Zayd al-Shaheed, the martyr. So this is how close they both were. He used to always accept his gifts. Something else also, Al-Mukhtar was amongst a few handful of people that actually knew where Zayn al-Abidin was hiding away from Medina, because he was close but yet far and hiding in between mountains, etc. So that for 5 years. Thirdly, Imam Zayn al-Abidin did not break mourning on Imam Hussein except after Al-Mukhtar severed the heads of the enemies of Imam Hussein and took the full revenge of those that have unjustly killed him. And fifthly, actually Imam Zayn al-Abidin had a way to communicate orders to Mukhtar. So Mukhtar took care of almost all of the enemies of Hussein. There was only Harmala. And Harmala was not only an archer, which made it very difficult to reach him. He was a very well-known archer. He could strike an apple 500 meters away. And I'm not speaking now when you have a pistol or a gun or whatever have you. It's just an arrow, a quiver and an arrow and a bow. So that was something. Another thing, he knew his way through deserts and through the mountains. So anywhere they would find him, he could evade them very, very quickly. Until Imam Zayn al-Abidin was speaking to one of his companions and saying, "Oh, I really, really wish that Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi would actually go and kill Harmala." And at the same day when he heard this news, when he heard that Imam Zayn al-Abidin had this wish, he went himself and he took care of Harmala. And that is when he had the dialogue with him. See, a lot of what happened in Karbala is narrated by the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. So he asked him and he said, "Oh Harmala, you have such a solid heart, an iron heart. You're a brave warrior. Is there any time in Karbala in which you doubted your Amir, your leader? Is there any time in which you felt your heart being wrenched for what you are doing?" He said, "No, but only for 3 arrows. The first arrow is the arrow that struck the infant of Imam Hussein that I have sent. The second arrow is the arrow I sent to the eye of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. And the third arrow is the arrow I sent to the heart of Hussein. That's the only times in which I really felt something in Karbala. But other than this, I felt nothing." And then he was killed by Mukhtar. So anyways, even though Imam Zain al-Abidin was trying to cover the fact that he was political, he was running all of the politics that were going at his time. And even after he returned to Medina, people would come and try to question him regarding Karbala or regarding his political affairs, etc. He always knew to whom to speak and whom to just tell them, no, I won't be speaking about this issue, or to turn the discourse into something else. So all in all, Imam Zain al-Abidin, he not only had a relationship with Mukhtar, he had a very good way of communicating with him, until at the end he had prostrated saying Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen when Al-Mukhtar has finished his deal with the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Now, there are other factors that we need to look in the life of Zain al-Abidin Salamullahi alayh, which is that when he has lived these plentiful years, what are his achievements? The first achievement that he has done, and let's focus on this one only, I'll just focus on this fact. There are narrations that say, by Zain al-Abidin himself, that most of people have left Islam after Imam Hussein Salamullahi alayh. And this, you may say, isn't true, because a lot of people kept their Islam after Hussein. So what was the Imam referring to? He was referring not to the fact that people left Islam in the sense of saying that from this day on we will be heathens. No, they actually used to say that we are still Muslim, but because they had such an aggressive stance against Ahlul Bayt, against Hussein, against his family, they turned against him. And when you turn against an Imam, as the Prophet has said, you have left Islam. And the Prophet has said this: whoever dies and does not know the Imam of his time, then when he dies, he will die an ignorant death, as if Islam had not crossed his heart. So imagine not only doing that, but going against your Imam. And see, there is something that is rarely discussed, but needs to be. Some people that did not go against Imam Hussein had to later on show that they are against Imam Hussein as much as they can within the time of Zain al-Abidin. Why? Because they knew that because there was such a military power that was invested by the Umayyads in their dynasty and their growing kingmanship, they knew that if they did not show their allegiance to the Umayyads, not only will they be killed, they will be killed, pillaged, and their family distraught, and everything that they own will be taken away, as promised by Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad from Basra also. We always keep returning back to Basra. So even when the heads of Ahlul Bayt came to Kufa, there were some Kufans that were not really against Ahlul Bayt, but each of them took a stone and threw it on the face of Imam Hussein Salamullahi alayh. Why? To prove to the Yazidis that we are with you, we are not against you, do not kill us. That was their way. So everyone was saving face, everyone was protecting himself and his family by attacking Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And the only way that they could show compassion at that time, when the caravan came with the women and children and with no men, is by giving food to the children, which Sayyidah Zainab alayha salam took from the mouths of children and threw outside and said, we are Ahlul Bayt, we cannot take charity from you. And not only because they are Ahlul Bayt, because they are only giving this food so that they would save some face to Ahlul Bayt also. They need to show that they're against Ahlul Bayt to be saved, but also they need to show that they are with Ahlul Bayt a little bit so that Allah would not smite them. That is what they believed. But they were not accepted. This is the way of Sayyidah Zainab to say, if you don't stand with us, with your heart, with your blood, with your tears, you are not with us. Just like Imam Hussein did. You know, when Imam Hussein was looking for people to aid him, he met a guy, and this guy said that, oh Hussein, I'm not able to go out and help you, but my sword is worth 1,000 swords, and my horse is worth 1,000 horses, so take them both with you to Karbala at least. So he said, لا حاجة لنا بسيفك ولا بخيلك. There is no need for your horse nor for your sword. if you are stingy with your soul to come and help us. So, all in all, Imam Zain al-Abidin did the same thing with Sayyidah Zainab that Imam Hussein has done. If someone does not pledge the full unwavering allegiance to Ahlul Bayt, he is not to be accepted at all. And anything that comes from his part will not be accepted also. So he continued this, because even in Medina, many came to Zain al-Abidin and told him, "Oh Zain al-Abidin, your father shouldn't have gone." Instead of consoling him, instead of telling him, "We're sorry for what has happened," instead of mourning Imam Hussein, they say, "Oh, why did you go?" And the reason why they were saying this, even though they love Zain al-Abidin and they love Imam Hussein, is that they wanted to save themselves and their families and whatever they owned. Otherwise, everything will be obliterated. However, Allah had different plans, because one of the verses of the Quran that Sayyidah Zainab recited in front of Yazid, in front of his whole kingdom, that in the Quran it says, "Don't think that we will give bad people good things because we like them. We are giving them these things so that they would increase in their tyranny, and so then we will demolish them." And that exactly happened to Yazid. So now, in the first year, as I said, martyring Imam Hussein, second year attacking Medina, third year attacking the Kaaba itself, that was enough for him to be taken from this earth. And when he was taken, Medina and Mecca was under Abdullah ibn Zubair. Abdullah ibn Zubair, the same guy that wished, when Imam Hussein was in Kaaba, to leave to Kufa or whatever have you, so that he would have Islamic leadership there. And indeed, they did bay'ah or pledge of allegiance to Abdullah ibn Zubair. So Abdullah ibn Zubair took in Medina and Mecca while Yazid was busy in Karbala. Of course, he wasn't in Karbala, he was in Kufa along with Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. But Abdullah ibn Zubair used to take both of these places, and hence why they were attacked. So at that time, Zain al-Abidin had to actually go and commute through all of these political differences. All were afraid from Yazid. Some of them were under the protection of Abdullah ibn Zubair and was wanting him. Some people were going around, for example, Al-Thaqafi, to revenge for Imam Hussein. Some people wanted the Marwanis to have their, let's say, stronghold in Medina and Mecca. So it was very politically difficult. Again, what was the achievement of Imam Hussein salamullahi alayhi? His top achievement is returning people to Allah. In many pieces of poetry you would hear, وَالنَّاسُ عَادَتْ إِلَيْهِمْ جَاهِلِيَّتُهُم. People returned to their ignorant ways as if the Prophet wasn't a thing. So Imam Zain al-Abidin, the way he instilled fear of Allah into people's eye again is through the tears of his eyes that he shed on Imam Hussein, and through the worship that he showed people. He was the person to take on the worship of Ali ibn Abi Talib and try to recreate it. And even one of the narrations say that he had a sahifa, or a paper, or a book. You could call it a paper or a book that has the worship of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and from time to time he would look at it and say, "Oh my God, who could follow you, O Ali ibn Abi Talib, in your worship? Nobody can." And he would replicate it slowly by slowly. So you would see that Imam Zain al-Abidin, most of his narrations were regarding fear of Allah. Most of his narrations were prayers or supplications or things to get people closer to Allah. In that very difficult political time in which he could not have any true political power that was directed from him, he had to direct it through Mohammed ibn al-Hanafiyyah, through, let's say, Abdullah ibn Abbas, through Abdullah ibn Ja'far, the husband of Zainab alayhi salam. He did that in proxy. The only thing he could do is to return people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we have a Sahifa Sajjadiyya, the Sajjadite book, and within it, prayers, supplications, everything that gets us close to Allah. if Imam Zayn al-Abidin did not do that, people would lose their way with Islam from the time of Hussein. Because in time of Hussein, the blood of Hussein woke people up. But after they have awoken, they need something to replenish them. Just as if you wake up from long slumber, you feel hungry, you feel thirsty, you feel a need to resatiate yourself, that is the role of Zayn al-Abidin. And if Zayn al-Abidin did not provide the spiritual power to the Muslims that will aid their emotional feelings because of the blood of Imam Hussein, people then would not follow Islam. And you know where the fruits of Zayn al-Abidin sprouted? In the first hawza that was ever created. Because his son Imam Mohammed al-Baqir and then Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq after him, they created the biggest hawza within Medina itself. Imagine that, next to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the house of of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq is exactly opposite to the Green Dome in Al-Medina. Exactly opposite to it, you would see that there is restrooms. Unfortunately, it was turned to restrooms, but this is the exact place of the house of Ja'far al-Sadiq. He would exit, visit his grandfather, pray, and then initiate the hawza in Fajr. So, if we want to know how great of a man Zayn al-Abidin is, we only have to look at the time before him and after him to see the changes that he has inflicted. So, there are three things that are very necessary to everyone that is here and everyone in the world to go to the kingdom of Allah, to go to the heavens. What is that? First of all, you need strong emotions with religion. That is established by the blood of Imam Hussein. Secondly, you need spiritual power and worship given by Imam Zayn al-Abidin. Thirdly, you need knowledge, which is the most important thing of all. And it will benefit, and no one will benefit from his emotions nor from his spirituality if he does not have knowledge. Knowledge, lastly, was given by Imam Baqir and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, and with this trifecta, Islam was resurrected. So, if it wasn't for any of those three, then Islam would never reach us. People would lose steam in their love to Islam, and then finally, they would lose all faith. So, we take this chance in this commemoration to not only thank Allah, but also thank Zayn al-Abidin for the Islam that we do. Everything that you do every day, even you being present here, your prayers, everything that you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was preserved by the blood of Imam Hussein, the tears of Zainab and Zayn al-Abidin, and then the knowledge of Al-Baqir and Al-Sadiq, and of course, all Ahlul Bayt indeed. But I'm focusing on the time period just before Imam Hussein and after Imam Hussein to show what Imam Zayn al-Abidin has done. But unfortunately, in a night just like this, imagine Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam suffering from his poison. It wasn't enough for the enemies of Ahlul Bayt to kill Hussein. So they went after Imam Zayn al-Abidin. And Imam Zayn al-Abidin was always mentioning Hussein. The narrations say that whenever food or water is given to him, he would mix it with his own tears, and he'd always remember his father. Assalamu alayka ya man shaybuhu qutna. And then he would cry upon Hussein and tell people to do the same. So in one of the nights when they were looking at Zayn al-Abidin cry upon Hussein, they said, we need to take the soul of Zayn al-Abidin. So they sent him the poison in the grapes and in the food that was delivered to him. and then they tried to assassinate him. So when Imam Zayn al-Abidin received that food and he ate from it, he felt as if his heart was stabbed, and he felt as if he was blooded. So then he gave his farewells to his family, and he told them, "Oh my family, forever remember Imam Hussein alayhi salam." Until the day came and he was looking to his son, and he told him, "Oh my son, if I go and leave this world, you are to be the Imam. Just remind our Shiites to forever keep their prayer." And then Imam Zayn al-Abidin left this world. ولكن الأمر لله ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. يا الله بالحسين الوجيه وأمه وأخيه والتسعة المعصومين من ذريته وبنيه، صل على محمد وآل محمد، واقض اللهم حوائجنا وحوائج الحاضرين والمستمعين والمسببين. اللهم يسر أمورنا وأمورهم واغفر لنا ولهم، واهدنا اللهم بهداك وأنعم علينا بتقواك. وأسألك اللهم أن تجمع بيننا وبين محمد وآله في هذه الدنيا وفي الآخرة بحق محمد وعترته الطاهرة. ورحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة وأهدى بثوابها للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والشهداء والصالحين مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.